and the police ordered me to go on a bus. I remember the bus was parked. The bus was in the courtyard.
就是上了车以后，就是车上蒙的那个布，车窗上蒙的布，看不到别的，看不到外面。去了什么地方也不知道，只是知道，就是停车要我们下车。下了车以后就看到一个院子，就是有几个门，一个警察呢就把我带到一个地方让我按手印儿，按完手印儿呢再让我到一个房间去，去量血压。 就是听那个心脏，再然后呢就把我带到一个另一个那个另一个那个房间，就是抽血验血，再然后呢就把我带上大巴车就回到劳教所。
As far as I can remember, after I got onto this bus, I noticed that all the curtains on the bus was closed, so I couldn't see anything outside. Then I didn't know where I was taken to. After the police asked me to get off, I noticed we were in the courtyard. The police officer asked me to go to a room for my fingerprints to be left. And I was forced to leave my fingerprints there. Then after that, I was ordered to go to another room for further tests. Then my blood was drawn there, and also they checked my heart. After all these tests, I was taken back to the prison or to the detention center.
Ms. Yang, did you see other people who were having tests? And if so, who were they? And did they give you a reason for making these tests?
请问您有没有看到其他的人也接受这样的体检？如果有的话，他们都是谁？您能说出名字吗？然后他们有没有向您解释为什么要接受这样的体检？
我们车上就是有一些人。 具体我不知道是多少人，有一些人跟我一个车上去检查的，那些人我不认识，也没有跟我说去干什么。
There were other inmates on the same bus with me, but I didn't know them, and I didn't know how many of them altogether, and we were not explained why these tests were for.
Ms. Yang, you referred to different methods of torture that was carried against you while you were in custody. And you have listed 9 items. I will just quickly go over them. You were handcuffed for 37 hours. You were also handcuffed to a tree, and you were beaten. They used electric shock against you, lashed you by whip, and hit you by leather boot, and forced feeding, and the list goes on. And can you should briefly explain to the tribunal why these physical tortures were carried out against you and whether it had any impact to your health and well-being after that?
杨女士，在您的证词当中，您列举了您在关押期间被用刑，然后您具体列举了9种不同的刑法。那么我简单的列举其中的几个。您指出有被铐手铐，有鞭打、电击，还有被强迫进食，等等，这个有很多种不同的这个酷刑。那么我想请问，为什么当时您会被用刑呢？这种刑法对您的健康又造成了怎样的伤害呢？
一个是呢，我就是坚持练法轮功，去信访办，讲法轮功对人的这个改变，再一个就是，我不报姓名， 不报姓名，他们酷刑来逼迫我说出，我就是住在哪里。
The reason they used the torture on me was first because I insisted practicing Falun Gong. The second was because they wanted to want me to tell them my name, but I resisted. They wanted to know where I lived and who I am.
对我身体的伤害，是，只是，你像戴手铐吧，戴手铐造成我那个，就是这个麻木，整个那个胳膊手都麻木，是戴手铐，就是那个背靠，还有其他的，造成我这个腰部就是有感觉疼。
After long hours of handcuffing, I suffered from numbness in my arm and hands, and also I suffer from back pain.
Thank you, Ms. Yang. The tribunal will have some questions for you now.
非常感谢杨女士，接下来我们的审判团会向您提问。
Good afternoon. You state in your evidence that some of the people who were involved in your torture were doctors. What exactly did they do to you, and were they, as far as you're aware, military or civilian staff?
杨女士，在您的证词当中，您提到，就参与用刑的人当中有医生，那么他们具体对你做了什么？这些人是属于军方的，还是到底是怎么样的身份，还是民间的呢？
他们是，就是医院属于什么？前面的我没有记住。
Mrs. Yang would like me to repeat what I just said. 这个问题是问当时参与用刑的当中是不是有医生，然后他们具体对你做了什么？这些人对你用刑的人是怎么样的背景？是军方的还是民间的？
是医生。你像是医院，它属于什么？我不知道怎么说这个。
They are doctors from hospitals.
他是看守所里面的医生，就是给我灌食，他们就是执行命令式的，就是他也不问你什么东西，就是给你灌，你就是想尽办法给你灌进去。
The doctors at the detention clinic force-fed me, and they didn't explain why I need to have this. They just come up and force-fed me.
And a little bit later in your statement, you say that they gave you a large quantity of medicines which affected your function in some way. Could you explain that a little bit more?
在之后，您有提到他们强迫您吃大量的药，然后影响到您的健康，您能具体的阐述一下吗？
是在精神病院的时候，他们是逼迫我，就是让我吃，给大把的药让我吃进去，而且他看着你要不吃不行，所以我又想到这是药物会对我伤害，但是我又想到我是就是学真善忍的练法轮功的，我要不吃呢，他们就会强迫我就是打针，他就是真正的把我 就是对待一个精神病人那样的，就是用各种方法来对待。所以我想我要为别人着想，我也就是不要他们再费那个劲了，所以我就还是吃了吧。这样呢，他们就会知道哦，原来你练法轮功的，并不是说你不为别人着想。我当时是真的没有想到我的身体，我只是为别人着想，就是减轻他们的工作压力。
Yes, I was forced to take large amount of medicine during detention. They treated me as I was a patient with mental illnesses. While they held me at a psychiatric department, they forced me to take large amount of medicine. But at that time, I thought I didn't want to create any trouble for them, and I just want to prove that as a Falun Gong practitioner, I uphold the value of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. And I want to make them aware that as a Falun Gong practitioner, I will do what they say.
I have 2 questions for you. The first is, you say that you've been detained for up to 7 years in total. Did you ever hear of forced organ harvesting while you were in detention?
您好，杨女士，我的问题是，您在关押的7年期间有没有听闻过或者目睹过强摘器官这种行为？ No.
And my second question is, were you ever, during your time of detention, were you ever threatened with forced organ harvesting?
我的第2个问题是在您被关押期间有没有被迫或者被威胁将要对您采取强摘器官这样的行为？
Thank you.
No.
You spoke of having a sample taken in a tube. How big was the tube? Can you show us?
您提到在抽血，就是被抽血，但是能不能具体的来形容一下被抽了多少血？那个血罐，这个管子是有多大呢？
是，那个针管子有这么大，
The
满
tube
满
is
的，
about this size.
是满满的，就是在这个地方。
So the blood was drawn from here, and the tube is about this size.
就是我的印象最深刻，是因为我从来没有被抽过这么多的血，所以我就是很心疼。
I remember it clearly because I was never drawn so much blood before.
Could you be a little bit more specific about how many times blood samples were taken from you, and how many times physical examination of the type you described so clearly earlier in your evidence happened? Did it occur every year you were in detention, every time you were detained, or just occasionally, or just once?
请您具体的来说一下，就是抽血和体检的次数，是每年一次呢？每年几次呢？还是偶尔？
是偶尔
Occasionally.
的不定期。
It was irregular, occasionally.
Other people were tested medically when you were. Were they all like you, Falun Gong practitioners, or were they people with other backgrounds?
在那些其他被抽血或者接受体检的人当中，是不是都是法轮功的学员，还是其他的人？
我不知道。
I don't know.
Thank you.
谢谢。
You served many terms of imprisonment, but were always released. When you were in prison, did your family know that you were in prison?
您多次被关押之后呢，又被释放，请问您的家人知道您被关押吗？
刚开始的时候被抓的时候，不知道，是他们发现我没有回家，没有回家呢，他就去打听，到公安局的派出所去问，就是一直坚持1天2天的这样往公安局去跑，就是一直追问我的下落。
At first, they didn't know until they noticed that I didn't go home. Then they started to look for me, and they phoned police station every day, and they appealed for my release.
And finally, about the blood test, was any explanation given to you for the medical examination generally, and in particular for taking this quantity of blood from you?
他们是不是跟您曾经解释过为什么要抽取这么多的血或者进行体检？
没有，
No,
我不知道
never.
去哪里。
Never.
Thank you very much for coming and giving your. Thank you very much for coming and giving your evidence. You are, of course, free to stay and listen to the other evidence, but you can now leave the witness chair.
非常
Mr.
感谢。
Sabi, how are we on technical development?
非常感谢您参加，非常感谢您的证词。您现在可以留在这儿继续听，也可以离开。谢谢。
Do we have Mr. Yang Jia online?
And I must keep asking until we establish whether we have contact with Professor Waldron. Well, if it's possible without being too inconvenient to the witness, and in order to make sure that Professor Waldron knows we're here and we know he's here, can we see him on the...
He says he can see and hear you fine.
Right. And we don't need to put him on the screen as was once planned.
We can put him on next, but we've just put on the next witness.
Very well. Thank you. And welcome, Professor Waldron. And we're now back to Zhang Jia, yes?
The witness is just setting it down on a present. That's just been running.
Hey, good morning.
Can you hear me? Obviously you can hear me. Can you hear me well?
There's an echo. I think there's an echo there.
Well,
I
thank
don't know
you.
it's from me or from your mic.
Well, I think we may have to live with the echo. Thank you for joining us. We will ask you please to ensure that the evidence you tell us is the truth. And I can tell you that while we were waiting for the internet connection to be made, Mr. Sabi, who is counsel to the inquiry, has explained some of what is contained in your report to us, and so that it can be heard by the public who are in attendance on us. But you will now be asked first some questions by Mr. Sabi, and then some further questions by those of us on the tribunal. Mr. Sabi.
Mr. Yang, can you briefly introduce yourself and the activities of Human Rights Law Foundation on China?
Yeah, my name is Yang Xia. I'm from Human Rights Law Foundation.
And your position?
China Research Director.
Okay. Can you please briefly explain the activities of the foundation?
Okay, the foundation established in 2005, and it collects the evidence of the persecution since 1999, and also the foundation offered the evidence to the lawsuit brought to the Chinese authority officials who is responsible for the persecution to the court in different countries. and we also help other persecuted religious group to file the lawsuit and against Chinese officials.
In your statement, you refer to 610 office as the clandestine office of 610. Why do you call it clandestine?
610 office is not established under the state authority. It was established in June 10th, 1999. It's about it's about 1 month before the persecution really started, on July 20th, 1999. So it's established under the command of Jiang Zemin himself. And it belongs to the party, not the state. It's under the leading group for handling Falun Gong issues. The leading group established office. So it's established on June 10th. So that's why it's called the 610 office. And the leading group, the head of the leading group was the standing member of the Periodic Bureau Standing Committee. So it's not the state. And until 2013, when the 610 office head Li Dongsheng was investigated by the CCP leadership, the 610 office and its leading group, the leading group has never been formally announced in any Communist Party public information announcement or the government structure has never been formally announced. So it's for like 14 years, full 14 years, it's operate under the party secretly in the party. And even though during the period, the time, they established office name in the state council, but the state council has no authority over this 610 office. So that's why this 610 office is kind of extrajudicial organ under the party and carry out the whole persecution with its power authored by Jiang Zemin and the communist leadership, not the state.
Mr. Yang, if this organization is outside the government, how does it get all these thousands and thousands of staff and personnel that it has across China, and where does it get the funding from?
This office is under the party, and as we know, the party already has the power to have their own organization in every level. So we know the government structure has different setting than the rest of the world because they have a parallel party system, also get the funding from the government budget, but they are not under the state, but they above the state. And they can set this 610 office inside the party. That's why most of the 610 office set in the political and the legal affairs committee. This is a party, also a party committee at every level. As long as it has a party committee, it has this political and the legal affairs committee. It's called the PLAC. And this committee already exists. And the 16 office, of course, is an independent setting. Since it's part of the party committee, it's easy to get the budget. And the party budget has never been open to the public. Since its establishment, the Chinese Communist Party took over power in 1949. Nobody can ask where the budget come from, but they have endless source to get the funding from the government. Actually, the government has the budget. As we know, for the past 3 or 4 years, the maintenance stability budget is already past military spending. And I believe the 16 office budget is part of this maintaining stability budget.
Mr. Yang, is there any other organization similar to 16 office in China?
There were 3 offices under the PLAC, Political and Legal Affairs Committee. One is Office for Maintaining Stability. Another is called a Comprehensive Social Order Management Office. And those 2 offices, their main work was targeting to the whole society. And the 16th office is the only one targeted at the beginning, targeted at Falun Gong practitioners. And after several years, when they accumulate enough experience and gain extra power, they expand the 16th office target to other Qigong group, religious group, but only focus on the religious group. Other group like a dissident, democratic movement, it doesn't belong to the 16th office jurisdiction.
Mr. Yang, does Human Rights Law Foundation also get involved in the human rights of other minority and ethnic groups in China, such Uyghurs and Tibetans, who are also persecuted?
Yes, Human Rights Law Foundation helped the lawsuit against Jiang Zemin and other high-rank Chinese officials in Spain. The case was brought by a Spanish pro-Tibetan people's rights group. It's a Tibetan people sue Chinese authorities, and the Human Rights Law Foundation helped that case. And I believe we still have some case helping Uyghur people now.
You have used 2 Chinese terms, which I hope I'm pronouncing them correctly, Dozheng and Zhuanhua. But correct me if I'm wrong. And can you explain to the tribunal what they mean and how they have been used against Falun Gong?
斗争 is in English, it's a struggle. It's basically originated from the Marxism, Leninism's class struggle. It means in China, this word has a very specific meaning when used in the political campaign. When they initiated a campaign and called 斗争, means it's kind of a class struggle. Then whoever was the target of the struggle would be considered the enemy of the state. So no matter what measure used against them will be accepted by the society, because everybody knows when anybody becomes the target of the 斗争 struggle, nobody should help them. That's how all the political campaigns during the communist rule works, because once, like in 1957, the rightist intelligence people intelligent, those educated people were persecuted, and they used the same word. And during the religious suppression on the those house church people, they also called 斗争. So 斗争is like every political campaign used to show the society this is party's new campaign against the enemy of the state, the enemy of the party. And JP is like expose and criticize. It's also used in the persecution of people. And when they use the expose, means expose this group or the individuals in this group, expose their crime, which is not real crime. It's just the party doesn't like them at the time. So expose their crime and then criticize. The criticize could be the targets criticize themselves, like a confession, or other people to criticize them, like in all the political campaign. And this is called JP. JP is more like fighting against the mind. And another is 转化. 转化 is sometimes translated as a conversion, or transforming. It's specifically against religious belief, because the party believes that other religion or other beliefs cannot be tolerated. So it has to be converted to something else. That's called 转化. And this was used most widely during the persecution of Falun Gong. And now in Xinjiang, they use 转化 against Uyghurs. We heard recently many testimonies, testifies to describe how they use the 转化. 转化 is specifically against religious belief.
Thank you. Mr. Young, you referred to the reports of two United Nations special rapporteurs, Dr. Manfred Novak and Sir Nigel Rodley. Have they, in any of these reports, considered the forced organ harvesting of Falun Gong and reported on that?
Actually, as I submitted my letter to the tribunal, this part I'm not familiar with others' work. I'm only familiar with my own work. So I cannot say others how others look at this issue. I collect evidence, and I don't consider other people's opinion as evidence.
Have you reviewed any evidence on forced organ harvesting of the Falun Gong practitioners?
Generally speaking, I don't have more evidence than David Kilger, David Metas, and other groups. I don't have more specific, different evidence from them. But I have some background information maybe others don't have. One background is the communist regime, even before they took over the power, they already used the human body for the medical use. In 1940s, in Yan'an, one Chinese official, the person is called Shi Zhe, who worked for Mao Zedong for 18 years. So it's a very close assistant of Mao Zedong. And he visited a hospital and saw some, the cadaver for the, the medical student to practice. And he asked, where did you guys got this corpse? And the person replied, said, we request, we need 3 cadaver for the students. And they send 3 live person to us. And they are counter-revolutionaries. It's in 1940s, even when communist was in the mountain area, they already did that. And the Suzhe asked the person, are they alive? Yes, they were alive and sent by consent. And then we kill them, like kill them and use their body. This is in 1940s. And another case is live organ harvesting in 1970s. And one lady in Jiangxi province, because she supports another dissident, and they killed her and got her kidney before killed her. So the kidney was harvested when she was alive. And for transplantation, it's in 1978, just the Cultural Revolution just finished, ended the Cultural Revolution. And her kidney was transplanted to a high-rank official's son who was an airplane pilot. And there was an author called Hu Ping, who is not the dissident in New York, another same name in China, who tried to find the witness. And he did lots of work. And finally, he found the armed police who was on site when the lady was harvested kidney and killed. And 2 armed police was there, and one of them testified. And that was written in a book. And so the background is they already had this experience. And in Chinese Communist Party's culture, they never considered the enemy class struggle or religious suppress enemy as a human being. So this is the background.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Now the tribunal has questions for you.
Okay.
Good morning. The first question I have is, with all the documentation you've submitted and all the cases that you've proceeded with, has the Communist Party ever responded to your reports or said anything to you directly or indirectly regarding the allegations that you've pursued?
It's all published from the Human Rights Law Foundation, and it's not my personal. They don't respond to me, but I don't think they respond to any allegation the world raised against them. What they had was established so-called organ distribution system. Actually, the allegation was first raised not by the human rights group. It's raised by Chinese authority themselves. In 2005, November 2005, when the WHO had a meeting in Philippines, and Huang Jiefu was the one who raised the issue. He announced that most of the organ for the transplantation were from the executed prisoners. And at the time, actually, nobody ever raised the issue. That wasn't really a big issue outside the medical community, and they raised the issue, executed the prisoner's organ. And it didn't really have impact. I checked all the reports, there were no reports. That means, and then next year, the organ harvesting exposed. That means they knew the organ harvesting from the live Falun Gong practitioners would be exposed. So they had to prepare. That's why they raised the executed prisoners organ first, and then they followed their own design plan. Means they established a distribution system. They had passed the law in 2007, and that's, I think, it's the response to the accusation from the world.
So one more question for me. Do you have any, the documentation you submitted seems to indicate most of your dates after 2013. Is there any indication that this is still going on and that torture is widespread in China, or any reports that you have? Because I noticed your dates cut off after a certain point. So within the last 2 years, do you know if it's still going on or if it's?
You mean the general persecution?
General persecution and the organ harvesting.
Yes, the organ harvesting, you know, when China established the so-called donation system, there's some investigation called the hospital, and they didn't find any hospital or any Red Cross in China had established the organ distribution system. However, they announced that all the organs were from the volunteer donation. That doesn't make sense because the culture won't change overnight. And in many countries, and people don't have those traditions to keep the body, spend like decades to establish the organ donation system. And in China, if you look at the record, they like established the system, organ donation system overnight. Overnight, where did those come from? And they still, the transplantation number is still increasing, not decreasing, still increasing. And the Chinese authority even talked to Taiwan, want to share the organ with Taiwan as the gesture of like a good gesture to Taiwan. And how could you have so many organ sources to share with Taiwan and share with other countries? So this is still going on, that's no doubt. And for the general persecution, the 610 office last March, last March, Chinese Communist Party and the state announced the restructure of the party and state, the structure. And they announced the 610, as I mentioned, the 3 offices, 2 of the offices were canceled. They don't have anymore. But 610 office, they specifically said that the function will transfer to the PLAC, Political and Legal Affairs Committee. So this 610 office, we don't know the 610 office is still independently exist or it's a part of the PLAC now. But until last December, there was still 610 office all over China, still working independently, and we can see the report. And also there were 2 human rights group, religious, especially religious group, set up the website. They're not inside China, they're outside China. One is Bitter Winter, another one, I don't remember the name. They had lots of internal documents sent by religious believers in China, sent out internal documents. From those documents, we can see for the past 2 years, the persecution of Falun Gong is still the same as before. They consider the Falun Gong is the number 1 target, and the number 2 is Almighty God Church. The Bitter Winter has lots of documents you can check. So the persecution is still going on, and we can see since 2013 to 2018, Minghui published the jail sentence numbers, and is kept the same level at about 1,000 per year. Falun Gong practitioners, low at 800 and high at 1,600. And this number, lowest number is 2013, because 2013 there were forced labor camp in China, and afterwards, because they abandoned the forced labor camp in 2013, and afterwards the jail sentence increased, because I think some of the persons supposed to send to labor camp switched to the jail sentence system. Labor camp is kind of extrajudicial. Also, it's out of the legal system. It's not legal system. It's outside the legal system. So jail sentence increased. That's for sure. And this year, we know at the province and city level, at the province level, the 16 office all transferred to the POAC. And at the central level, it's finished in last March. So the persecution still carried out by the POAC. It's pretty much the same, just the name switch, because the head of POAC in central level is the leading group for handling Falun Gong issues, the head, the same person. So the leading group's head is the same person as the POAC head. It's already the same body.
Continuing on the same theme, and as you already said, and you state in your statement, the courts in China are required to punish Falun Gong believers more severely than others. In your view, is the duzheng for against Falun Gong different from the duzheng against other parties, including Uyghurs or Tibetans or House Christians? And if so, why do you think that is? What is the particular threat that the state perceives that Falun Gong poses?
The difference is Falun Gong is the majority from the ethnic perspective. It's in mainland China, and the Tibetans and the Uyghurs, they are partially remote area. Their activity and their religion has not a big impact in the Han area, majority, mainland China, majority. So they are not really afraid of their influence to Chinese people. But Falun Gong is different. Falun Gong has two advantages for the religious belief, but it's disadvantage for Chinese Communist Party rule. One is they're based on the traditional Chinese culture. So that's why it's different. The Chinese authority also persecute Christian and Catholic house churches, but they have official religious organization which is totally controlled by Chinese Communist Party. So they can relatively easy to control official churches. But Falun Gong and also the Christian and the Catholic was introduced from the West, and they can easily to use the nationalism to have those campaign, like a propaganda campaign, say this is Western influence. But Falun Gong is based in the traditional Chinese culture. This is one difference. Another is it doesn't have any part was cooperate with the authority, not like Christian and Catholic. They have called three self churches, and they already reorganized, and they can appoint their own priest. That's a difference. And I think the persecution at how serious the persecution, it's easy to compare with Tibetan and the Uyghurs, because they are the same, they are all religious related. So I think the scale and the time lasts for the party past 20 years, and the scale is whole China, every province, every province. That's and they can hardly infiltrate and influence Falun Gong group. They did it before. Before the persecution, they sent lots of spies into Falun Gong group, and it turned out those people also started to practice. It's hard to infiltrate. So, according to Chinese Communist Party's idea, anything if they cannot control, they will totally destroy it.
Just continuing with the theme, do you believe that the Chinese state views Falun Gong as a religion, and is the threat a religious threat, i.e. non-conformity in the sense of the state having being agnostic, or is it a social threat?
It's both. Religious threat is more serious from communist angle, because they consider themselves as, even though Marxism is ideologist, ethicist, but actually they are more religious, more or less. It's also like a religion. So they considered any religion as the threat. In 1949, when they took over China, the first thing they did was not the so-called counter-revolutionary. The first thing they did was to eliminate all the religious groups and reform them to something they can control. So once, and even during Cultural Revolution, they still consider that religion was the first threat to their rule. And that's why when Falun Gong started, at the beginning, they didn't rise because they didn't realize it was a religion. Because at the beginning, everybody thought it's a Qigong. And then when they realized it's like a lot more or less like a religious belief, and then they started to harass Falun Gong practitioners, and finally started to persecute. And as a social order, I think it's less important, because if we can see in 1989, the Tiananmen Square, they can crack the students and the people who involved in the protest easily. They can control the non-religious movement relatively easily. So I think the religious part is more important than the social order.
I was wondering which government entity has been in charge of the persecution of Tibetan Buddhists if it was not Sixten Office, because we know that Sixten Office just established in 1999, and the persecution of Tibetan Buddhists it's back many years ago. Yeah, that's my first question. And the second question is, in the cases that you have seen, have you ever come across to any Tibetan Buddhists who have been medically examined in detention centers or subjected to forced organ harvesting?
First one is Tibetan issue was handled by the Politburo Standing Committee directly. It doesn't, it has several organizations, but not as specific as Sixten Office. So I think this is the central handled. In Tibet, it's more or less like Uyghur now. It's more like a martial, like what do you call it? Martial. It's like a military rule, more or less. It's a little bit different setting, and the same as in Xinjiang. Xinjiang has a different. They set up a specific group in the public Ministry of Public Security. It's called the 27 Bureau. 27 Bureau. It's called anti-terrorist group, and in China that means they have their special language system. If they mention the persecution of Uyghurs, they use the anti-terrorist. So in the Ministry of Public Security, there were two newly established, relatively new, but also more than 10 years, relatively new two bureaus. 26 Bureau is Sixten Office inside the Public Security Ministry, and the 27 Bureau was Anti-Terrorist Bureau. That's inside the Ministry of Public Security. And I don't have any information on the organ harvesting, the Tibetans. I don't have any information on that part.
Human Rights Law Foundation, does it have any specially close links to Falun Gong in contrast to its closeness to any other organization? Or is it neutral as to those who suffer?
I'm a Falun Gong practitioner. That's for sure. But this is not specific for Falun Gong.
As to the Uyghurs, they have come to more prominence in public discourse in the West in the last year or so. Falun Gong were better known because of their demonstrations and activities for a longer period of time. Is the present position that there's much more research into Falun Gong than there is into Uyghurs?
Yes. I believe that Falun Gong, because when the persecution started, Falun Gong has already developed a very strong followers, many followers outside of China. So when and lots of Falun Gong practitioners at the time were all work in the high-tech company or PhD student overseas. But when the persecution started, Falun Gong established many groups, and I believe because it's internet time and lots of practitioners in China send out information, and the good thing is there was a Minghui website to collect all the cases, and as far as I know, this is the first group in human history when the group was persecuted, and from the beginning to collect evidence. I know the other group, but most other group probably their evidence to collect afterwards, when the persecution stopped. But this established a well-established database outside of China. And I believe this is the most well-collected evidences.
Yes. Can you help me with this? Given what you will understand from your investigations and broad reading and everything else, at present, do you think the Uyghurs are as much at risk from such things as organ harvesting as the Falun Gong, or is it different? Is the risk different?
I cannot compare the risk, but Uyghurs' risk is very high because the information in Uyghur, the internet is very easy to be totally shut down. They already tested it, totally shut down. So it's more difficult. It's hard to fully shut down all the information channel in mainland China. Relatively difficult, even though they already did. But in Xinjiang province, it's much easier to block all the information. So it's hard to tell. Like I saw some testimony, and they said every day there's some disappearance in the jail or in the detention center. And it's very difficult, just like early time when Falun Gong practitioners round up without name. I think they are facing the similar situation now.
And thank you. My last question is this. It may be that there is more evidence pointing towards organ harvesting from Falun Gong for periods some time ago, 5 years, 10 years ago, than there is evidence for Falun Gong being subject to organ harvesting more recently. Can you help us with whether that might reflect a change in practice in the Republic of China, or whether it is simply an evidential problem, that there's less evidence for recent activity?
I believe it's because until last year, we still see they collect the blood samples from Falun Gong practitioners. And they are not even in the prison or detention. They collect their blood at their home. This has many reports. So I believe the practice is pretty much the same. The difference is cover-up. They really started the campaign, spent lots of money. I remember one doctor was testified in the US Congress, and the US Congress asked him about how you travel to China, because they helped public relations for Chinese regime, and ask who pay you travel cost. And he said it's from Huang Jiefu Foundation. And the Huang Jiefu Foundation in China, there's no individual foundation at all. Any foundation must have some government background. And we checked this foundation actually at the beginning, the Chinese government gave them 20 million Chinese yuan. as a funding, as a start funding. So it's just government funding. So government spend lots of time to cover up, and many medical facilities, not like 5 years ago, they publish everything on their website, but now they don't publish anything. So even the number you cannot confirm. I think this is a cover-up issue.
Thank you very much. Anything else arising? Unless there's anything you want, Mr. Sabi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yuan.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Evidence. Mr. Sabi.
Thank you. Our next witness, Mr. Chairman, is Yu Jing, who will give evidence on internet. His evidence is from page 131.
谢谢，我也很荣幸。
I'm very glad to be here.
Thank you. Ms. Yu, can you introduce yourself and mention the reasons that you were imprisoned for 3 times in 2000?
首先，请您自我介绍一下，而且您也提到了您在2000年期间被3次关押。
我叫于静，我是在河北中国河北廊坊市中国石油天然气管道局工作。
My name is Yu Jing. I used to work in Langfang, China Petrol Natural Gas Plumbing Bureau.
Yes. You were detained for 3 times in year 2000 for being a Falun Gong practitioner. Is that correct?
您在2000年被关押了3次，其原因是您练习法轮功，对不对？
是的，
Correct.
因为sorry.
Yes.
Correct.
You mentioned that you went to Shanghai Zhongshan Hospital. Can you mention the date or year that you did that visit?
您在证词当中提到了您在上海中山医院进行调查，您能不能具体的说明一下日期？
是这样的，我那个是2006年4月份，我在明慧网呢看到了那个，就是说那个活摘法轮功器官的那个信息，当时我非常震惊。
It was in April 2006 when I saw the news published on Minghui website. I was really shocked.
我那个时候正好在上海开了一家快递公司，所以离这个上海中山医院非常近。所以有一天呢，我就到上海中山医院看一看上海中山医院活摘器官的情况，我想调查一下。
At that time, I had a delivery business in Shanghai, which was very close to this hospital, so I went there to investigate.
Please continue with your story of visit to the hospital.
请继续讲述一下您到了医院之后发生了什么。
我到那个中山医院一进门口有一个大厅，就是服务台，那里边呢，我就问他，我说我要那个了解换器官的一些情况，需要挂什么科的号。当时呢，有一个70岁左右的一个男的大夫，个子不太高。
I entered the ground floor lobby of this hospital building, and I went to the reception to ask which clinic I should go if I wanted to consult on organ transplant surgeries. And there was a doctor in his 70s who's not very tall came to me.
然后我就说要换器官挂哪个科的号，他说换器官非常麻烦，需要配对呀，还要很多的检查。我说这是你们医生做的，我们家属需要做什么？他说钱。
I then asked him which clinic I should go to if I wanted to find out information regarding organ transplant surgeries. And he said, this is a very complicated process if you want to do this surgery. And I told him it's the doctor's job, but what as patient's family need to do. And he then replied, you need to get money ready.
我说钱不是问题，他说你让病人来。我说
Then I told him money is not an issue. Then the doctor told me to bring the patient here.
我说那得看你们什么时候给换器官，病人会在这之前来。如果你们要是3年、5年、10年、8年才给换器官，病人来这么早怎么行？
Then I said to the doctor, if it really depends on when you can get the organ ready, because there's no point for the patient to come here so early if you don't have the matching organ.
他说那么长时间病人早就死了，我们医院半个月就可以换器官。
Then the doctor told me you don't need to wait for too long, because if you have to wait, as most of patients in other situations would do, they would already be dead by that time. In our hospital, the situation is different. It takes only half a month for an organ transplant.
我说那你们给换的器官要是7老8十的人的器官，换上没几年就不行了，那怎么办？他说不会，都是好的，都是年轻的。
Then I asked whether the source of the organ is an elderly person. What if the organ is from an elderly person? I assume it won't last for too long. Then what's the use of this? And he replied, no, don't worry, the organs we can get are all young and healthy.
他说你让病人来，我说我们是不是要给捐献者一些钱？是不是要感谢他或者他的家人？他说不需要，你只要给医院钱就可以了。我说换肾要多少钱？
Then the doctor just said, bring the patient here, don't worry about other things. Then I asked if we need to pay the donor or if we need to thank his or her family. Then the doctor said it's unnecessary at all. You just need to pay the hospital.
他说换肾需要40万，40多万，你就拿50万保险。他就问病人是哪里的，我说河北的。他说你叫病人快点来，快点来。
And I asked about the cost of the transplant surgery. The doctor told me it would cost around 400,000 yuan, and it would be great if we could get 500,000 yuan. Then he just said, get the patient here as fast as you can.
说从这次调查以后，我就收集各个医院的医生的信息。我通过我的工作给他们寄一些的那个他们活摘器官的信息，这样呢，让他们都知道中国是这么邪恶。
So after this investigation that I conducted personally, I started to collect information of doctors and then mailed them this evidence of live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners to warn these doctors what has been happening, because I had delivery service in Shanghai, so I took advantage of my business to deliver these materials.
Miss, you originally when you approached the hospital, did you ask for kidney as an organ, or did you ask generally that you need an organ transplant for your friend?
请问您去医院进行调查的时候，您是直接问肾脏的移植呢，还是只是总体的问移植手术？
当时我是问那个总体的移植手术，但是呢，他就问我我当时是以病人的那个朋友来咨询，当时他就问你需要换什么，我就顺口说换肾。
At first, I asked about organ transplant as general, because I posed as the friend or the relative of a patient. Then, when the doctor asked me which organ you need, I said kidney.
Did you inquire that how come the organ can be made available so quickly?
您有没有具体的问为什么这么快就能取到这个肾源呢？
这个具体的我没有问，而且呢，我现在也是非常后悔当时没有录音。如果要有录音的话，那就是更好了，因为我不是从事这方面工作，也没有这个经验，所以当时我就是看了这个报道，非常震惊。我自己想亲自调查一下，看看上海活摘器官的情况。我调查完了以后，我非常非常的震惊。
I didn't ask, and I really regret that I didn't record our conversation because I was not experienced at that time. And also after I read the report on live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioner, I was really shocked. That prompted me to carry out this investigation in Shanghai.
Did you carry out any other investigation from the hospitals regarding organ transplant in China?
您有没有去进一步的进行调研？也就是除了这个医院以外，有没有在中国其他的医院进行调查？
没有。
No, I didn't.
Thank you, Ms. Yu.
谢谢。
The tribunal will now ask their question.
我们法庭的
Can you tell us what the Mingwei website is?
请问这个网站叫什么？
我没听懂是哪个网站。
Which website do you refer to?
It's in the first page of her statement at the bottom.
在您的证词的第一页当中，您提到的这个网站。
我第一页我没有。明慧网站，明慧网站是我们法轮功大法弟子办的一个网站。
It's Minghui website, which is run by Falun Gong practitioners.
In your witness statement, when you go to the reception, you ask which department should he visit. Can you tell us what the answer was and which department were you directed to?
在您去到那个医院的时候，您到前台问您要挂哪科的号，他是怎么回答您的呢？
他直接就是这个70岁左右这个男的医生，他就直接回答我，他没有说你去挂哪个科，他就说换器官是非常麻烦的，需要配对呀，还有很多的检查。所以我就跟他讲，我说那是你们医生需要做的，家属需要做什么？他说就是钱。
Because there was a doctor in his 70s approached me and answered all my questions, so there wasn't anybody pointed me to the clinic. The doctor basically told me it's a very complicated procedure. Then I said, what as family need to do? And he said, you just get money ready.
May I ask you if, when you were asking questions of this doctor in the hospital, whether you were able to get information from him about which people or what type of people the organs might come from, and whether or not it could have been, since it was for a kidney, a commercial deal with people who were not prisoners, for example. Where did the organs come from as far as you were able to determine?
您在做调查的过程当中，比如说在问这位医生的时候，是不是有具体的问这些供体是谁，也就是这些器官是从谁那儿来的？是通过医院还是通过外面的，就是作为一个商业的渠道获得的呢？
我当时就是问他这个多长时间可以换到器官，而且器官的供体是不是健康的，不想要年龄很大的。他想这些器官都是非常年轻的、健康的，半个月就可以给换上，但是他没有说这个器官是从哪里来的。
I didn't answer specifically about the source of the organs. I only asked how long do I need to wait, and I was told the waiting time is within half a month, and also I was guaranteed that the organs would be very healthy and from young people.
在中国很多的事情都是不透明的，他们都是暗箱操作。
Because I believe in China, a lot of things have inside stories, or it's more like black box operation. It's not transparent at all.
Miss Yu, why did you go to the Shanghai Zhongshan Hospital?
于女士，您为什么会选择上海中山医院这家医院去调查呢？
第一，这个中山医院呢离我的公司非常近。第二呢，它这个中山医院呢在上海是非常有名的，因为在这之前，上海有一个电视，他就讲他给人家换肾，换得非常成功。
The reason one is because it's so close to where I used to work. And the second reason is it's a very famous hospital in Shanghai. And I used to see the advertisement on the TV about the success rate in this hospital. They carried out the organ transplant carried out in this hospital.
So you didn't go because the hospital was perhaps named in the Minghui website?
所以您选择这家医院，并不是因为它出现在明慧网站上，是吗？
不是，因为他那个我对看病不太在行，但是呢，好像是这个医院在上海很有名气的一个医院。
No, only simply because it was very famous. I didn't know the list of the hospitals on Minghui website.
Okay, Miss Yu, you say that you only heard about the forced organ harvesting in 2006. So when you were detained 3 times in the year 2000, you did not hear anything about forced organ harvesting during your detention.
您说到在2006年的时候，您才知道活摘器官这件事儿，而您在2001年被拘留3次期间，从来都没有听说过相关的事情吗？
我被拘留的时候呢，也曾经就是警察叫去，就是要摁手印儿啊，他有一次要张嘴看你的牙齿有多少个牙齿，要看你这个脸型是什么脸型，他要做记录，但是呢，他没有给我抽过血，我也没听说过活摘器官的这些情况。
No, during detention, I didn't hear anything about live organ harvesting. But I was taken fingerprints by the policeman, and also they had my teeth checked and counted. They also checked the shape and feature of my face and noted down all the details. But I've never had any blood drawn.
And were you ever told, or was it ever explained to you why your teeth were being checked and things like that?
您有没有曾经问过为什么要检查您的牙齿等等呢？
我以为是不是所有的人都要问这个问题，我也搞不清楚。因为当时他只是我们在号里，他让你有练法轮功的都站起来，然后他就带出去。可是进到另外一个房子里头，只有我一个人进去的。
I thought it was just a routine check because I remember at that time all the Falun Gong practitioners were called out. Then we were sent into a small room one by one.
Were there non-Falun Gong practitioners who were also in the same detention center?
在您关押的地方有没有非法轮功的学员呢？
有的。
Yes.
And did they undergo any medical examination at all? Do you know? Did you see?
他们有没有进行体检呢？您有没有目睹他们进行体检？
没有，体检的时候他只是说练法轮功的站出来，他没有说是那个不练法轮功的要站出来。
No, I don't think so because they only called out all these Falun Gong practitioners.
Earlier on, one of my colleagues asked you a question as to whether or not the doctor that you interviewed mentioned the source of the organs, and you said he did not say where they were coming from.
之前我的同事有提问，关于您在医院里面问这位医生具体的来源，就是这些器官的来源是什么？然后您这个医生也没有具体的说，是吗？
我只是问他，我们需不需要感谢这个捐献者和他的家人？他说不需要。我其实就是想问一下，他的来源，但是他把这条路给堵死了。
I only asked this doctor about whether it's necessary for us to thank the donor himself or herself or the family. And then obviously my purpose of this question was to find who or the source of the organs. But the doctor said no, it's unnecessary. He kind of evaded my question.
So in other words, the doctor, just to clarify, the doctor did not say that these were coming from Falun Gong practitioners.
所以是不是可以说这个医生没有承认这些器官是来自于法轮功学员的？
他没有承认，但是呢，我通过我这个3次被关押和我们城市周围的一些练法轮功的人的情况，我分析呢，大部分来源可能是练法轮功的人。
No, the doctor didn't admit anything, but from my experience as a Falun Gong practitioner and also my personal experience during detention, I can say it's highly likely that the source of organ is Falun Gong practitioners.
How do you come to that conclusion?
您如何得出这样的结论呢？
因为我们那个城市练法轮功的人比较多，他们都是回来都讲，他们都在劳教所或者是看守所都被体检过身体。
Because in my city there is a large number of Falun Gong practitioners, and during the conversation or communication with them, most of them told me when during the detention they were taken for the tests.
而且每次体检过后，他没有告诉我们体检的结果是什么样。他要真是为了我的身体健康，为什么他不告诉我体检的结果呢？
And every time after the tests, nobody explained to us what the results were, or explained why we need to carry out these tests. If these tests were for our good or for our benefit, they would definitely tell us the results at least.
而且他们有的人去体检的时候，还有武警拿着枪站在旁边， 我不知道体检为什么要搞得这么恐怖。
And also, some of my fellow practitioners experienced something experienced with the armed police watching over them when they receiving the tests.
Okay. Your conclusion is that after you had done this interview with the doctor, you say that you started collecting information about doctors and mailing them material about organ harvesting of Falun Gong practitioners. Is that correct?
您在进行调查之后，就开始收集医生的一些信息，然后准备了一些资料寄给这些医生，对不对？
Yes.
Okay. Who were these doctors that you were sending material to?
您把这些资料寄给哪些医生了呢？
他们医院的门口有一个大牌子，那个牌子上面都有什么内科呀、外科呀，各个科的医生的姓名啊，他的什么主治医啊、什么主任医啊什么的一些的信息，我就会这个科记3个，那个科记几个，就是这样的。今天记几个，明天记几个，这样的都分着给他们记。
Because I saw a notice board near the entrance of the hospital where I can find the information of the doctors in different clinics. So I would pick some of them from each clinic to deliver the materials to.
And did you get any response or feedback from the doctors who have received this material from you?
那么当您寄出这些资料之后，有没有任何的回应呢？那些医生有没有给您回信呢
？No.
没有。
No, so they don't say like, why are you sending me this information? Who are you? They don't ask these questions. They don't respond at all. Is that the situation?
也就是说，您在寄出去之后，他们没有问为什么您要寄这些资料给我，您是谁呀？或者就是说根本就没有任何的音讯，是吗？
根本没有音讯。
No response at all.
And have you had any questions from the authorities about this particular activity that you are doing?
那么您因为这次调查，是不是收到了当局的一些关注或者说是干预呢？
当局他们根本就不知道我调查，而且我做这个调查也是秘密的。如果他们要知道我可能现在就会被迫害死掉了。
No, I don't think they knew anything I did. If they knew, they would. I wouldn't be here today because I did it secretively.
So you are not afraid for your own safety in doing this?
您在进行调查时候没有为自己的安危着想吗？
我被他们迫害已经奄奄一息，已经就差送医院晚送10分钟就死掉了。所以对我来讲，死已经不算什么了。
I was tortured to half death when I was in the detention center, so I'm not afraid of death at all. At that time, after they tortured me, they had to send me to the hospital, but the doctor said if I was sent there 10 minutes late, I would be dead.
Okay, thank you, Monsieur.
谢谢。
I have one more question, which is, could you explain, please, to the tribunal how much contact a detainee like yourself has with other detainees and with other groups, say, other than Falun Gong members? Were you kept in solitary confinement or in groups, or how were you detained?
我有最后一个问题想要请问一下您。您当时在被拘留期间是跟其他的人关在一起吗？那么他们是法轮功学员还是非法轮功学员？你们之间不同种类的人之间的交流有没有？
第一次关押的时候，练法轮功的人非常的多，只有3个不是练法轮功的。后来这2次呢，就是练法轮功的人就不多了。都是不练法轮功的人占大多数。
During my first detention, most of detainees were Falun Gong practitioners, except for 3 non-Falun Gong practitioners. During my last 2 detention, the situation is totally opposite. Most of detainees were non-Falun Gong practitioners.
他们这些人呢，有的是反正形形色色的罪犯，他们在里边呢，有的待了很长时间，也接触过一些练法轮功，都认为法轮功人是好人。
And most of in this detention, I met different criminals or different inmates who were charged with different allegations, and most of them didn't have the chance to contact with Falun Gong practitioners. But after they had chance to communicate with us, they liked us a lot.
So just to clarify, were you kept in solitary confinement or in large groups in cells or in groups of 2 or 3? And did you meet, and how did you meet people?
您是被单独关押的，还是2、3个人被关押的，还是被一群人一起关押的呢？
在中国，它那个叫号，那个号里边呢，第一次是总共有36个人关在一起，有33个是练法轮功的，最后这2次关的呢，那个时候那个号里面已经有20左右人，没有第一次人那么多。
During my first detention, there were 36 of us kept in the same building, and among them, 33 were Falun Gong practitioners. During my last 2 detentions, there were less people kept there. I think there were 20 of us.
Did any of the other Falun Gong practitioners taken to the small room for medical examination give you detail of the medical examinations they underwent?
其他的接受体检的这些法轮功的学员有没有跟您交流过？他们具体接受了怎么样的体检？
有的，他们有的被抽血，有的那个也是要问你，你这脸型是圆脸呀，是国字脸呀，还是什么脸型？然后也有问包括牙齿的，看看你的牙齿有多少牙齿，反正都是不同的检查。
Yes, there were various tests carried out, as far as I know. There were some of the Falun Gong practitioners got their blood drawn, some got their teeth checked and counted, and also some of them got their face, the shape of face and feature noted down.
Of your 3 release dates in 2000, the second in March came with a release certificate. What did the release certificate say?
在您的3次关押之后，最终都是收到了释放令，然后才被释放的。那么在释放令当中，具体是写了什么呢？
只有第一次有释放证，后来这个2次他什么都没有，也没有拘留的时候，按照中国的法律应该他有拘留证，他释放以后应该有释放证，只有第一次有释放证，剩下什么都没有。
I only received the release certificate for the first detention, but not the last 2 detentions. According to the Chinese law, I should have been issued the detention notice or legal document, but I didn't get any of those.
Thank you very much for making yourself available. One more question.
Sorry, forgive me.
还有最后一个问题。
Of the 36 inmates that were in prison with you in your earlier detention and the 20 in your last detention, other than by way of release, were you aware of any of the inmates disappearing or being removed?
在您的第一次关押，也就是36个人一起关押期间，以及最后一次20个人一起关押期间，有没有任何人消失的呢？
就是最后这2次关押的时候呢，在我关押期间呢，就有练法轮功的，他们在我后边抓来的，关了，有的甚至睡一晚上，第2天就走了。我不知道他们到哪里去，你问他们，他们也不告诉你，也不让你问。
Yes, there were during the last 2 detentions, my last 2 detentions, there were several Falun Gong practitioners came in after me. They only spent 1 night. The next morning, we didn't know where they went, and nobody knew their whereabouts.
有的人呢，他可能住个2、3天就被叫走了。我不知道他是放他回家了，还是送他去劳教所了，还是送他监狱了，不知道。
And some of them disappeared after 2 to 3 days of detention. I don't know if they were released or they were transferred to labor camp or re-education center or jails.
Thank you very much for making yourself available to the tribunal to give evidence, and that's the end of your evidence. So thank you.
非常感谢您参加我们的听证会。现在您的这个供词提供完了，您可以走了，可以离开了。
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Sabi, I think
Mr. Chairman, the next witness is Yu Ming, but we need a 5 minutes break.
Let me have a look at that for a minute. Now, is this a witness who is also, sorry, which page is it?
It starts from page 139.
Yes, is this a witness for whom there's a sensitive issue somewhere through?
Sorry?
Is it a sensitive issue here?
Some of them, yes.
Sorry?
Some sensitive issues.
Yes. Right now, let me first of all explain to the people in the and especially those who were here the last time, the quality of the image and actually the quality of the sound is better than on the last occasion, but it's come by a different mechanism, and I messed it all up this morning when I took a witness out of order, because apparently this only operates if we take them in strict sequence. So, because I've done that, in order to get back in sequence,